Welcome to Be the Light. I am Denise Rizonia, your show host, and we are filming here today live at the Wofford Theater in Noblesville. Today I am joined by my guest, Jason Hall. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Jason wins my Best Dressed award. I have to say he is my best dressed guest yet, so thank you so much for coming so formal for us.
Oh, anytime.
So today we have what I call the hard hitters, and you guys might remember we did an episode a few weeks back on Brett Finbloom, who died of alcohol poisoning. We talked about the Lifeline Law, and we're actually going to get into that a little bit again today. But first I'm going to go ahead and just let Jason share his story with us, so go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm Jason. I am an Noblesville High School graduate. My story is pretty long, but I'll try to sum it up for you. When I was 13 or 14 years old, I discovered what alcohol felt like. I had parent permission at the time, which is bizarre, but my oldest brother almost failed out of IU, so they figured, let's let his younger siblings try it before they, also go through the failing out of school. I fell in love with the feeling of being under the influence, and soon kind of formed my own habit of drinking on the weekends when I had the chance, sneaking, and stealing from parents, and then it evolved to drug use when I turned 15. I started smoking pot very regularly, and then my drinking went from on the weekends to every day. My freshman year of high school, I drank every day of my freshman year. I do not remember a single day where I was sober. It was a pretty harsh year. I literally have days where I remember getting to school, and that's about all I remember. But it was a rough road that I had to go through. After freshman year, I got put on probation for an unrelated or a non-drug related event, mostly just stupidity on my part. But I was on probation, and then I remember, I know the exact date, the last day I smoked marijuana, just because it was the day before my first probation meeting, which I think is pretty irresponsible and obviously an addict behavior. Then comes to the July, which is there was the Noblesville Street Dance. It's it's downtown of the square of Noblesville. It's a huge party. Thousands of people show up, and there's a live band. There's all sorts of vendors. Everybody shows up, brings lawn chairs, and just sits and has fun and walks around and just hangs out for the entire evening. And I remember going, and I was already drunk when I went. And then,
how old were you at the time?
I was 15 years, or no, I just turned 16 in June, so I would have been 16 years old.
Okay.
I went, and we had fun. I remember we played a joke on my mom that night. We told her we couldn't find Dad, which was not very fun for her, but we thought it was hilarious. And I had I had good times. I can't say every time was bad, but I also went into that same day planning it to be my last day alive. I chose to kill myself that evening. I was already drunk, but I wanted to drink more just because that's who I am. I'm an alcoholic, so I never have enough. That night, my brother was passed out on the couch, and he was kind of in my way for what I had planned. So I had to, wake him up to move him to bed, and as any irresponsible, immature, and unknowingly 16-year-old kid would do, I shook him awake, which, it always changes a normal drunk person to a very, very angry person. Mm-hmm. Which he then pinned me against the wall by my throat, had me off the ground, and that was a pretty violent time, which, instead of, me cowering back, I spit in his face and told him to keep going, just because I at that point in time, my life was so depressing and horrible that I just wanted nothing else but to be, dead. I had no happiness. I was a failure in all, sense of the word. But he dropped me, and he kind of staggered upstairs, which the commotion woke my parents up. So they lectured him, and then I had to wait for them to go to bed to finish what I wanted to do. So I was up till it was like 1 a.m. or so, and then I took a bunch of pills that were it's actually called Seroquel, which is a schizophrenic sleeping pill, or sleeping aid, I should say. I took 32 or 36 of them. I actually don't remember the exact number.
Where did you get the pills?
I bought them from a drug friend that lives in a middle of nowhere town. That's all they do there is drugs. So, okay. And once you start in the drug world, you end up making friends with other druggies, and then they move away, but you still have their phone number. It's real easy to get more. Once you start in the drug world, it's very, very easy to stay in contact with everybody. After, I went downstairs, took all the pills I could swallow, downed some more vodka, and left the house with the 3 cigarettes I had left, a lighter, a very large knife, and my phone at the time, my old black Razor. I still remember it. I kind of wobbled my way down my neighborhood to our local park, which has a forest area or wooded area that is kind of secluded from the road. I went back into the wooded area and kind of behind some tall grass, expecting to hide my body for a while. Hopefully no one would find me. I even took my phone apart, and I stood there for, I can't tell you how long, just trying to convince myself to stab myself in the chest. And I don't remember why, but for some reason I ended up stabbing myself twice in the leg. And they were pretty deep wounds. I ruined a very nice pair of white tennis shoes. Standing there for, I have no idea how long, and then eventually I just kind of sat down, laid down, and went to sleep. After I took my phone apart for some reason, but I went to sleep. And then the rest of that evening, I kind of had, they're like memory blips. I don't have like a fluid memory. They're all like bits and pieces of patches of what happened the rest of the night. I woke up at 3 a.m. because I remember looking at my phone at 3 a.m. I remember the street sign, the green street sign, the cross streets that tell me where I was. I remember the light post outside my house. I remember the back door, and then I remember getting into bed, and that's all I remember from that night. It was pretty rough. My brother apparently came in the next morning around 9 o'clock to apologize to me for what he'd done the night before, and apparently I don't remember any of this, but apparently I told him I was just really tired, just let me sleep. And he let me go and let me go back to sleep. And he came back again around noon to wake me up again and to get me to wake up for the day, and I was unresponsive. By this time it had been about a 12-hour period between when I took the medicine and when they noticed that I was not exactly me. My parents called 911. I remember the paramedics carrying me down the stairs. I remember the ambulance ride a little bit, and then my next actual fluid memory was waking up in the hospital with all of my immediate family and some of my extended family around me. And I remember the first words I heard. The first words I heard were, "How could you do this to us?" That was kind of a crushing blow to me. As soon as I woke up, I immediately get scolded. I was beyond depressed. I thought my life was unworth it. I thought that there's no reason for me to exist anymore. So I tried to take my life and wound up in the hospital. So.
Okay. We're going to take just a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hear more of this story. Before we do go to break, I want to thank our show sponsors today, Jim Wofford, the Wofford Theater, and Hamilton County Television, and we'll be right back.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid-back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to Be the Light. I am Denise Rosonia, and again, I'm here with my guest today, Jason Hall. So welcome back, Jason. Thank you again for being here with us today. One thing I do want to say before Jason continues on in his story is that I know firsthand it takes a great deal of courage to come on television and talk this personal about your life. And I want to really just thank Jason for what he's doing, because the reason that he's here, the reason that we do these episodes is to educate people and to really help open people's eyes and minds to some of what is going on out there. And we'll get into some statistics later, but you just might be surprised at how common these types of behaviors are. I've sat through a lot of presentations this year over at Noblesville High School, and there's definitely a very common thread that runs through this stuff. So we really want to help educate people and try to help give people resources who are maybe having a problem so that they can get some help, because again, we will get to this in a little while, but Jason's story at this point does have a very happy ending, not to mention the fact that he is sitting here with me, which that in and of itself is incredible. So if you want to go ahead and continue on, you were at the hospital.
At the hospital, after they pumped my stomach and filled me full of fluids and all that jazz, made sure that I was alive, made sure that they actually got all the medicine out of my system as quickly as they could. I was quite, I hate to use the word loopy, but I was quite dull for a couple hours after I woke up. I had no idea what time it was in the afternoon, but I know it was afternoon. But that was July 24th. Sorry, it's a significant day for me. Then they moved me into just a normal hospital room to keep an eye on me, keep me overnight, which they have to do for all suicide attempts. They have to keep you overnight. But I had lied to the doctors and to my parents and to my brothers and all of my family that was there about what I did. The wounds on my leg from my stab wounds happened to look like I was bit by a snake. So that's the story I was going with. But the doctor, after I'd been normal for a little while, asked my family to leave the room, and he came in and sat down and talked to me and was like, "I know what you did. I know these are knife wounds. I know you tried to kill yourself. I'm just saying that you have to tell your parents or I will." And I was not exactly very happy with that because I was underage. I had no choice. But I was obviously very, very emotional, crying and freaking out about having to tell my parents what I'd done. And they came back in, and I had to tell my father and my mom about me trying to kill myself that night, and watch my parents literally break apart, and they broke down. And my mom really fought the doctors on putting me in a mental health facility, but my dad said that's what he needs. He kind of took charge. He was like, if we don't put him in there, he's going to try again, which they weren't wrong. I definitely would have tried again. But then the doctor sat us down, and he told me, he looked me in the face to make sure I was listening, and said that the amount of Seroquel that I took was enough to kill 3 separate people. And he didn't understand how, after 12 hours of it being in my system before I even was near paramedics, of how I survived. They had no idea what went on inside my system, how I even made it 6 hours, let alone all the way to the hospital, through pumping my stomach, the whole 9 yards, after all the my metabolism digesting everything that it did, and I'm still here. I kind of look at it as my second chance at life. Not everybody gets a second chance. That's why I'm here. Is I want to take my second chance and use it to the best I can, and spread the message that even those people like me who suffer and have the worst lives possible, there's a chance for it to get better. There's always a chance for it to get better. No, it's never going to be easy, but which brings me to where I went after I got out of the hospital. I went to the St. Vincent Stress Center in Indianapolis, off of 86th Street. I lived inside the stress center for 3 days, 3.5. They took away my shoes. They took away my sweatshirt string, my sweatpants string. Everything possible to make sure I didn't try to harm myself again. They gave you limited bathroom time. I mean, you name it. They had their own toothbrush for you. I mean, it was a pretty intense thing. And after all the things that I'd been through, the depression, the self-harm, you name it, I started coming up with anxiety, and just my life was just ups and downs, a roller coaster constantly of emotions that I just could not handle. During those 3.5 days, I learned that my main problem really was just coping skills. When something bad happened, I didn't cope. I drank the problem away and forgot about it. I got high, or I took some pills to get by through that day. I don't know how, but all throughout my teenage years, I just never developed a coping skill. And so when one bad thing happened, I drank, and then another bad thing happened, and I drank. Something good happened, I drank anyway. That's just what I did. That it wasn't it wasn't that I liked drinking. It's that I had to. And it never got better. It just kept getting worse and worse. I had the world on my shoulders. It was a constant struggle just to get out of bed in the morning.
So now, after you came out of the stress center, then what happened?
I went home.
Okay.
That was actually my favorite experience to describe, because when I got home, nothing changed.
But at what point did you get involved with AA?
Yes. Part of getting out of the stress center was I had to go to group therapy 3 times a week to make sure that I was, forming some coping skills and moving forward. And, they started me on short-term goals and long-term goals. And, I met 2 or 3 times a week. I remember my, therapist's name. I mean, we talked constantly. It was a group therapy. I got drug tested weekly. But it was nice to go somewhere and be able to have something, talk about things that happened throughout the day. And I'm not talking like, I went to school, I went to math, I went to English, then I came here. No, the stuff that goes on inside my head, the stuff that, you don't tell people. Mm-hmm. That's what I got to talk about. And that was just an opening experience to me, because I'd never been able to do that before. After, I spent, I think it was like 4 or 5 months going to therapy all throughout my sophomore year of high school. Basically until December, I think is when it ended, is when but to graduate from that therapy class, I had to start going to AA meetings. Mm-hmm. They required me to go to at least 5 AA or NA meetings. And I chose AA because I thought my problem was more along the lines of alcohol than it was drugs.
NA is what, narcotics?
Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay.
Those are for people who, instead of drinking all the time, they are actually, take prescription meds 24/7, which is much harsher on your body than drinking is actually. But since I thought drinking was my problem, I started going to AA. It's a suburban North club here in Noblesville. I go there as often as I can, but I'm definitely there every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. I'm there and for an hour. And after I learned what it's like to be in AA, I never left. I've been going for 4.5 years now.
That's great. So we're going to go ahead and take another quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some statistics and some other questions that I've got for Jason here. We'll be right back.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to Be the Light, and again, my name is Denise Rosonia. I'm your show host, and I do want to just mention to you guys, if you want any information from today's show, I will be posting some links to some resources that we're going to discuss up on my website, and that is www.denisemrosonia.com. So that's www.denisemrosonya.com. And certainly you're welcome to contact me directly with any questions. And my phone number is 317-200-2511, or my email is drosonia@gmail.com, which is drezsonya@gmail.com. And real quick, so I don't forget, because I'm so great at this, I do want to thank our show sponsors once again. That's Jim Wofford, the Wofford Theater, and Hamilton County Television. And one thing that you mentioned, Jason, that was a significant date was July 24th. And I wanted to talk about why that day is significant for you.
Okay, in the world of AA or NA, you are to pick a sobriety date. And they define a sobriety date as the first 24-hour period you went without using or abusing any sort of drugs or alcohol. And technically, even though I was still under the influence on that Sunday, the 24th, it was the first day I did not use drugs in a very, very long time. So that is technically my first day of sobriety.
Okay.
And so every year I have my own little my party type thing where I go to a meeting usually in the morning, and I get my New Year token for that year that I've been through. I wish I had all of mine on me. It's kind of like it's a celebration. For every year you make it, you get a little coin, and usually you have a sponsor in AA, which is kind of like your person who goes through what AA is and helps you get through the steps, and they help you with becoming the sobriety you're trying to achieve. They help you get to it. And their sponsor kind of gives you a little speech about how far you've made it, how you work together, stuff like that, and they just tell you how proud of you they are, which is always wonderful to hear, considering I think I've heard that 3 times in my life from family members. Yeah. But it's July 24th is it's my day. It's been that way for 4 years now. So it was my senior jersey at Noblesville. It was. I made a pun off my last name, Hall of Corrections, and my number was July 24th, which I thought was pretty funny, but nobody else really understood it, and that's why it's an inside joke. But it's just, that's my date that I have memorized, that the 24th of every month is another month for me that I'm sober. It's just easier to keep track that way, and as wonderful that as it is for me to have made it this far. Nothing was better than making it through the first year. My first year of sobriety was the hardest year of my life, even over my depressing years, even over my using years. The hardest year of my life was the first year of sobriety. And that's because I went from dealing with everything by drinking to having to deal with life, having to live life on life's terms. And that was the toughest challenge I think I've ever had to go through. Is learning, like starting over. Basically, I'm 16 years old, starting over again at my life completely over, like starting over at 10. It was impossible for me. It was the slowest trudge through life that I've made, and it was just life altering. I have never had a better experience since then. So
Well, one thing I think that we really want to make sure we do is we want to give you guys some resources, like I mentioned earlier. And so regarding suicide, we have some pretty staggering statistics here that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. and that someone commits suicide every 13.7 minutes. So in the U.S., did I say in the U.S.? So that being the case, I do want to give you guys a phone number, which is 1-800-273-TALK. Again, that's 1-800-273-TALK. And that phone number is a 24-hour toll-free confidential suicide prevention line. So if you or someone else that you know might need that information, you can go ahead and contact them. Also up on the screen, we have mybrokenpalace.com, which is an anonymous website that you can go to and post prayer requests confidentially or just ask for help. They do have a phone number up there that you can call, and that is their sole purpose, is to just simply help guide people on the phone who need some help. And again, that's all anonymous. And also for anyone who might need assistance with Alcoholics Anonymous, it's just simply aa.org anywhere in the country. Here in Indianapolis, it's indyaa.org on their website. And I think just a couple points that I'd like to make in regard to Jason's story. One big thing is Jason is happy now, and I know that this story is a difficult story to tell, is a difficult story to hear, but he is now 20 years old. His beautiful girlfriend Emily is here with us today, and he is happy. He's doing well. He's progressing in his life. He is now a college student. He works and is actually, I'm very proud to say, dedicating his life to helping people with this. And I find that so inspirational, and I really applaud you for it, and I thank you for it, because it's something we really need. And, like I said, I've sat through a lot of presentations this year. You've given a lot of presentations. A lot of the pain that kids are going through.
I go to Noblesville High School that you talked about earlier. I'm one of the students who comes in and talks to the students. I do it the beginning of every semester. I introduce their alcohol section of their class, and I think every time I do it, I think I have 2 or 3 more students who get my phone number from either me or from the teacher who teaches it, and they contact me whether they want to give me their name or not, and they give me their story of whatever situation they're in, and then they just ask questions of how can I, what do I do now, or how do I do this, or they just ask me questions that, and I might not have had every experience that out there. I was not physically abused as a child. I don't have those experiences, but I can apply what I know from my life experiences to help anybody move past theirs.
Absolutely.
I'm not looking to be, the number one therapist that you just complain to. I'm looking to help you move past what you're going through, help you move forward in life. I was stuck for so long. I would hate to see anybody else get stuck like I was. It was horrible. I hated life, and I would hate to see anybody else feel like that. So. Well,
I get that firsthand, because I've been there, and I spent way too many years stuck in that position as a teenager and not living the life that I should have been living. So I certainly can relate to that, and I really appreciate that you want to help teens. That's certainly my goal at this point too, is just to help empower them and let's get them to that next level and help them to enjoy their life while they have the opportunity to do so. Because all too soon you become an adult, and while you can still obviously really enjoy your life, you just have a lot more responsibility to go along with it. So we are all out of time for today, but we will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.